And we are live on a very special edition of All In on High School Sports. Kurt Valenti, Jennifer Valenti, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Tonight we're going to do a special edition of our show in remembrance of a friend of our show, a friend of mine, someone who I coached under, and that is Ramapo head football coach Drew Gibbs.
Just to give a little background on Coach Gibbs, he was the head coach at Ramapo High School from 2001 until this season. Prior to that, he had coaching stints at Montclair State University, Kane University, and also at Ridgewood High School. At Ramapo, in 21 seasons, he garnered 7 sectional titles. His overall record at Ramapo High School was 183-51. He was awarded Coach of the Year in 2019 after a 13-0 season. But he's so much more than these coaching accolades suggest. And tonight we gather to honor a man that is not only a coaching icon, but who has impacted the lives of so many players and coaches that he worked with. And
Absolutely.
some of those people will be joining us tonight to remember him.
Absolutely. And we have our first guest in.
So I'm going to admit his son, Coach Brian Gibbs. We'll give him a moment to get in and situated.
Okay.
Make sure that I definitely got him in. Yes. Okay, it looks like his camera, and up here he is getting to.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hi, Coach. How are you?
I'm all right.
How are you, Coach Gibbs?
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are, happy to have you join us and be able to do this for your father.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys doing this.
Just so I know, when I remember Coach Brian Gibbs, he was about this big, and I got some pictures to prove it. I'll show you one day. But before we get into your dad, I want to just say that what you guys did 2 weeks ago with those kids against Northern Highlands, I'm going to be honest, we're supposed to be like somewhat biased on our show, but unbiased. But I will tell you that I watched that game like I was watching the Denver Bronco game, where it was me, Coach Sis. Coach, I'm telling you, I jumped up. I was jumping up and down, screaming at Northern Highlands. Almost fell downstairs. And but in all seriousness, what you guys did to get those kids ready for that game against that team was just some. It was just incredible. And you and the coaching staff just deserve tons of credit for that.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was the biggest team effort you could ever imagine. Coach Cattuso, Coach Resto, Coach Espo, Coach O, obviously, everybody picked up the slack. And, even if with all of us working as hard as we possibly could, I don't know if we did a tenth of what he would do on a game week, but we tried, we tried. I sat in his chair on Sunday after, and, Coach Espo came over and we tried to break down as much as we could. And, it was a team effort, man. And those kids, something else, they're something else. They did a lot.
It was a great game, and I just give, again, the coaching staff and your kids, and on both sides, because it was a high-stakes game, in front of a huge crowd, and the composure that your kids showed in that situation was just amazing. I have to tell you, obviously, Kurt is my husband, and I've heard about your father for years, and he speaks so highly of him and always boasts that he is hands down the best coach in the state of New Jersey. So knowing that and knowing, all this, what's at stake, I found myself getting emotional during the game, so I can only imagine what your coaching staff, and it must have been like for your kids.
I tried to. My dad always, there's a great speech on YouTube where before one of the games at MetLife, and he told him the field's 100, it's still 120 yards long and it's 53 yards wide, and I told him that, and I tried to. I told the staff, like, guys, I'd like to try, lead him on game day, and do my best to emulate what he would say and what he would, how he would lead. And that was just getting them to play, and they bought in, I don't think any of us, even, with 11 seconds on the clock, we still all had faith, and it didn't go our way. But, the effort, everything, they were just, these kids did something truly special. Win or loss, that was special. That was probably, one of the most special moments of my life, all things considered, just what they did for me and how they helped my family through those first 2 weeks was pretty incredible.
No, that was awesome. And like Jen said, and listen, Coach Gibbs was actually our first coach on our show.
That's right.
He was like the second show we did. We asked Coach, of course he did it from the backyard. But I said it then, I said it to him. I said it to everybody. And there's a lot of great coaches in the state of New Jersey. But I will just say that I am so lucky to work under, hands down, the best football coach in the state of New Jersey. And I said it then, I say it now, I'll say it probably 20 years from now. He was, and I've been so lucky to work under him. But how was it for you as his son, and then to work under him as the head football coach?
He was always a little harder on me, especially at first. The first couple years. It was 8 years together. Actually 9 years together, and those first couple years he was definitely a little harder on me. He was in which I needed, and it was good. But these last few years when I'm sorry, I just got a puppy actually. So
that's all right. We love
coming in to say hello. But it was special. Like I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like I talked to him every single day. There wasn't a day that went by where we didn't speak. And whether it was about football or whether it was about life, he was my guy. And I was lucky. I was really lucky. And like you said, I think he's the best football coach in New Jersey ever. And that's not a knock on anyone else, but
exactly
the way he did things. And to be honest, I don't know if there's a better X's and O guy. I can't think of anybody that could.
No way.
You look at like Situate in Massachusetts. We went up there to do a camp every summer, before COVID, and they went from being a no-name program to winning their state championship, and they just won it this past week, and they credit it to him. They had stickers DG on the back, and we hadn't been there in a year, 2 years basically, and they still carried that, and he followed them, and I was lucky, I was so lucky, and obviously, you hate like. I would want it all the time in the world, but when I do think I am lucky, I'm so lucky, and he was the best, man. He was the best to do it, and I don't know if it's gonna be tough to find somebody that does it his way, and if you can do it, like I said to our guys, and like we talked about, if we can do it just half of what he did, even we got a shot, and that's what happened in that game Saturday night, a couple weeks ago or Friday night, and yeah,
awesome. Kenny Kirkpatrick saying rest in peace, Coach Gibbs. Coach Breslin saying that I was right with the about Coach being the best. Absolutely. Casey Culinary, former player, was just an amazing leader. And the one thing, Brian, that I think we're going to hear a lot from tonight, because I just heard it from a couple of people I know, is when we first got with Coach, it was like, you think football, right? So it's like, all right, I know football. Then you go there and you're just like, oh my God, like insane, like of what he knows. And then you're just, I swear, I got to show Jen. I got notebooks at home where it's just like, you're writing everything this guy's down, because you're saying, I don't want to miss what he's saying, and it's like, it's crazy. And as another coach, when you're like, okay, I think I know football, then you're like, you know nothing compared to Coach Drew Gibbs. And it's, I think we're going to hear that tonight. I do.
Oh yeah. He made me do a year at, he wanted me to do a year away before I coached with him. Right. So my first year I did it at Fairlawn. And we went 0-10 that year. It was really tough. But, when I came back to him the next year, I was like, oh, my God. Like, I know I was really a part of it. I understood it. But when I did it as a coach, just like, wow. And I'd go to clinics with him and all these things. And, he was my wrestling coach in high school too, right? And I have a folder, a Google Doc. He has every single practice from 2007, 2008, 2009, all of my wrestling practices we ever did. And all I got to do is print one of those out, and the detail on there, anyone, if you have even an inkling, you could run a wrestling practice with his practice plan, because he just, it's just the attention to detail. And my one friend said to me a couple weeks ago, he's like, he was able to make wrestling into the most simple, step-by-step sport where a baby could do it. And he just had a special way of teaching, and he was his attention to detail. He knew everything,
Yep, and like Jen said too, and like what Jen said, we heard a lot of, because I mean the service, watching the service online, I mean it was beautiful from what you guys all spoke, and you hear a lot of people where it's Coach Gibbs, but it's also the friend and the mentor and just the person who like helped all those players and students and other coaches, and that, I mean, he's better probably even at that than he was as a coach, and like we're saying he was the best coach in New Jersey, and we're saying he's even a better guy like that. So any comments on that? Because listen, again, I knew him, I got lucky to work with him, I always tell Jen about him, but what's your thoughts on that?
So my wife is the head girls soccer coach at Ramapo, right? And we just got married in August, and I'll say this: my dad, everyone says it like that. He had the most fun he's ever had at that wedding, because her family are Ridgewood people. She went to Ramapo with a lot of Ridgewood people, so he had kids that he coached, kids that he taught in elementary school there. They were all so excited to see him. All my friends he coached, like, did the greatest time. The smile on his face was incredible, right? But my wife, her soccer team was the 1 seed in the state tournament. They lost to Northern Highlands in like the most upsetting fashion, overtime. They dominated the game. And his last text message to her is just like this, just his way of putting it, like, you know what, you're going to lose some, but like, you could, as a coach, like, I could send that to any coach that ever lost and just change, the name of the teams and whatever. And it would be, the best advice you could ever get. He just had a way, of saying things and making sure, if you felt good at the end of the day, like he was never going to let a kid go home feeling bad. He was never going to let a coach go home feeling bad. Like, he was going to make sure, even if, you messed up, even if you don't, like, he was going to make sure you feel good at the end of the day. And, that's kind of who he was. Like, he has that vibe of the big, tough, strong guy coach, but he cared about people, and he just wanted, he really, he wanted people to be their best and be happy. And that's,
you really get that sense from, again, that he, in more than his coaching realm, in your Facebook posts from your family members, and it just shined through in every facet of his life, which is just, a testament to what a special person he was. So tonight, Brian, we wanted to bring in some of his coaches who've coached with him, and then we had a couple of groups of different players that wanted to come and speak on his behalf as well. We'd like to invite you to stay with us. If you don't want to, that's fine too, whatever you would like to do.
You can stay for a little while.
Okay, and then anytime you want to jet out, please feel free.
Awesome.
But we wanted to bring in Coach Siciliano next, who and then we'll bring in the whole slew of coaches, but we wanted to give Coach Sis.
While we're getting Coach Sis, I want to read a comment from Kenny.
Sure.
Brian, your dad was an amazing person. He went out of his way to shake my hand during a state playoff game with Wayne Hills, thanking me for helping Coach Kurt and Coach Charlie scout games for freshmen. He offered me a scouting job for varsity. Just the amazing person he was.
Yeah, that's a testament, right? He would go out of it, like, he would, go out of his way to talk to anyone.
He did.
And that, he appreciated people, and what they did, and he was the man. But little me is having flashbacks with you and Coach Sis here.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Running around Ramapo with you guys there, like, those were some fun times, man.
Yeah.
How old were you back then, Brian?
I was probably what was it, 2004?
2001.
2001.
Oh yeah, that was year one. So I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Me and Kevin Tinsley running around there. That was
absolutely.
That was some of the most fun, man.
That's awesome. Fun. Your dad was the best, man. The best.
Yeah.
Coach Sis, we just wanted to give you the opportunity to, speak on behalf of Coach Gibbs before we let the other coaches in, if there was anything you wanted to say. What it was like to coach.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. First of all, it's an honor to be on here tonight. Coach Gibbs, I coached at a lot of places, high school, college, whatever, and I remember real quick, I was a linebacker coach at Montclair State, and he gave me a call. He says, "Sis, I need a defensive line coach," and I went up there, and I'm walking into the gym, and the first guy I see on a bench is Blake Costanza, and he's pumping like 350. I said, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to Coach Gibbs' office? So he said, sure, I'll take you there. And I was so impressed with, like, every kid at Ramapo is exactly like Blake was. Okay, they weren't only great players; they were like my own kids, man. And you know the beauty part about it was they were all great players. We had great coaches. Obviously, the head guy. Nobody had an ego. None of us did. We just wanted to win. Coach Breslin, Coach Angelina, Coach Wynn, Rotella, Kurt, and one thing about that, and I always respected this, he always took our input. And a real short, quick story, Kurt used to come up after his freshman games, and we're playing Northern Highlands. So he says, hey, sis, tell Gibbs to run 35 pitch with Walkowitz. It's wide open. So I tell Coach Breslin, the next play, Coach Gibbs ran it right to the house for a touchdown. But the best enclosed in X and O, I thought I knew a lot of football before I got to Ramapo. I didn't know anything. He taught me more football than all my years of playing. They're gonna miss him in that community, and I know his family loved his family because we used to sit down and he used to ask me about my kids and whatever. And I'm getting a little choked up here, so I love him, and I'm gonna close with that.
All right, Coach Sis, thank you. We're going to show a brief little tribute video that we have for Coach while we let the next set of guests in. So I'm just going to ask everybody to bear with me because I don't recognize
a bunch of
some
people
of the
coming
names
in
the waiting room, so I'd have to make sure I get the right people in.
All
But
right.
while we're getting that.
Okay, and we are back live tonight with a special edition, All In on High School Sports, remembering Coach Drew Gibbs. Jody is saying a great coach and a great program. Thank you, Jody, for that comment. So, Jen, if you can introduce a bunch of people who's coming in.
Absolutely. Those of you who might just be joining us, we've already been introduced to Drew Gibbs' son, Brian Gibbs, and Coach Sis. And now we are joined by, I'm just going to go around how it appears on my screen, and then I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and tell us, when you coach with Coach Gibbs, if you don't mind. So, Coach Breslin, would you start us off? Oh, you're muted. Sorry. I had asked everybody to mute.
There we go. No problem. I was hired by Coach Gibbs in 2001. I worked as his defensive coordinator from 2001 to 2003. I had to leave to take some administrative positions and came back as a volunteer eye in the sky from 2012 until currently.
Nice. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Coach Guts, how about you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I played for Coach when he first came to Ramapo in 01. So I graduated in 04, and we played on 2 state championship teams that a lot of guys on here were with and coached. And then I came back to the program in 09. Coach gave me a call and said, come on back, and he's got a spot for me on his freshman staff. And I've been coaching now for 13 years at Ramapo.
And how about you, Coach Charlo?
Yes, ma'am. I was introduced to Coach Gibbs in 2011. I became his freshman coach. I coached up until 2016. Also was his offensive booth guy with Coach Breslin. Tremendous experience. And loved it and loved to talk about it.
Great, thank you. And Coach Spafford?
How you doing? I first met Coach Gibbs in 1994 at the Ridgewood Wing Tee football camp. I was a student at Old Tappan High School, and our school was implementing the Wing Tee, and what a better place to go than to Ridgewood. So we spent 3 summers up there. I got to know Coach Gibbs. I met him at the North Jersey quarterback receiver camp back in the day. And fast forward like 4 or 5 years, and I'm a first-year teacher at Ramapo, and the first guy I bumped into at Ramapo was Coach Gibbs. And to say the type of person he was, he remembered my name, he remembered where I was from, he was glad to be colleagues with me, but he wouldn't let me coach. He said, first-year teacher, your head's going to be spinning. You got to take care of business in the classroom first. And then the next year he invited me on staff to coach freshmen for a few years. I took some time off, for some grad classes, came back, did another stint with the freshmen. And so I knew Coach for 25, 26 years or so.
Wow. And Coach Herbs?
Thanks for the opportunity. I started coaching with Ramapo under Coach Gibbs in 2004. 2005, excuse me. I did a couple years on the freshman staff, and then after 2 years, I moved up to the varsity, where I coached, for 6 years with the varsity up until 2012 with that memorable state championship at Kane University with the Dave Bonagora 48-yard field goal for the win against Sparta.
Nice. And Coach Hill?
I met Coach Gibbs in 94, and remember the day because it was my first day starting grad school, and I hadn't been in the classroom in like 13 years, so I'm like stunned. So I go walking into the classroom, and you can't miss Coach Gibbs's melon, and he had recognized me. I recognized him. And like football, coaches do, we started, talking football. Chuck had an opening on his staff at Ridgewood, so I did 4 years with him at Ridgewood. And anytime Drew and Chuck got up on the whiteboard, it was a clinic. And I'm thinking to myself, these guys have forgotten, more football than I'll ever know. Fast forward a 4-year stint at Wayne Hills, and then I might have been in another couple programs, but I hooked back up with Coach Gibbs in, what was it, 07, 08, 9 was the ring, and then 10. So, yeah, I did, guess that's 8 years with Coach Gibbs.
Very nice.
Guys, I'll just start with this again. Like, we were all like so lucky enough to coach with Coach Gibbs. What would be like one thing? And Jen, you'll go around and ask who, so it's not crazy. There's a lot of guys. What's the one thing that you would say that made Coach Gibbs different than from other staffs that you were there? Just what made Coach Gibbs like Coach Gibbs in your opinion?
All right, I'm just gonna go around. I'll change up the order a little bit this time. Coach Charlo, would you start us off?
Oh my gosh. There's so many things that made him different. The way he educated us as coaches, the way he taught me to understand each player's individually, his knowledge of the game was just unbelievable, and the way he treated you equally. I mean, you walked into the room when I first got to Ramapo. I thought I knew a little bit something about football, but in about 5 minutes, I knew nothing. But he didn't treat me that way, and he just educated me as a coach. Treated me and let me know how to run a program and how to communicate with players. He was just an unbelievable man in that sense.
Coach, I have to, before I choose the next word, I have to tell you that I hear Kurt use that exact phrase. He goes, "I thought I knew football until I met Coach Gibbs." Yeah,
I said that's going to be one thing everyone's going to say tonight.
So many times.
Yeah. You'll hear that. You'll hear that a lot. But where I started and where I ended was amazing, and the end game was tremendous, and the impact he meant on my life and the impact he had on my family's life, and I'll share that later, was tremendous.
Thank you. Coach Guts, how about you?
What made Coach different? I'd say his attention to detail. It was incredible. I mean, people will talk about his knowledge and his everything he knew about the game, but it was the attention to detail and there was no situation that as a player you didn't feel prepared for. There was no situation as a staff that we knew that we could always go to him for an answer on it. But it was also the fact that his thirst for knowledge of the game is what made him different too. I mean, he coached in the wing T for, how many years? About 10 years at Ridgewood, right? And before that in college, when he was the head coach at Keene. And then he gets to Ramapo, and we're all thinking as players, we're like, okay, well, we're going to be running the wing T because that's what they did, right? That's it. And he saw kind of what, the guys were doing, beforehand, taught himself and the staff, which we went undefeated that year, an entire new offense in the pro system, and then kept evolving to it. You fast forward to 2012, and then we're running this, hurry up, spread offense, and we've also changed our defense from a 4 down to a 3 down. So he's adapted constantly, and the most important thing for him was putting his players in a position to be successful, but stepping back from all that for what he did on the field, it was how much he cared about not only his players, but his staff as well. He cared about everybody's well-being and wanted everybody to, anything he could do to help you, he did. And he just made you want to be a better person to do that. And he had the gift of doing that.
Very nice. Thanks, Coach. Coach Breslin, how about you?
Coach Gus took some of my thunder, but absolutely. When you talk about attention to detail, Like, the guys before me had said, I walk in, I'm a nobody coming from a southern Bergen County, and you walk in the door and you interview with Coach Gibbs, and, he gives you the job. And then you say, all right, you know what? I know football, but not even close. But the attention to detail from a practice perspective, from a game perspective, all the preparation, all the time that he would put in, again, to allow his coaches to coach, and he's teaching them and then allowing us to coach and be our individual selves, I think was, without a doubt, second to none. Just amazing the things that he was able to do, on the field. But then again, Brian talked before about the communication with all of the other schools. We're playing Chatham in the first round of the playoffs this year, and guess what? Guess who trained them on their offense? Coach Gibbs. Okay. So, just the impact alone as well for me, being a part of Ramapo from 2001 to 2003. And I continued to communicate with him over the course of time. And like Coach Guts, he's got a spot. Well, Coach, I got a spot for you as an eye in the sky guy. And without a doubt, I'm in, because there's no way I want to be working with Coach Gibbs. Just the way he was on the field, off the field, and the impact he made for me was just incredible. And, I owe him a tremendous, gratitude for that.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Sis, how about you?
7 o'clock Sunday mornings, I used to go pick up your husband. We go get our coffee. Go up there with Coach Wetzel, Coach Angelina. We'd watch that film, that same play 37 times, back and forth. You talk about, again, I think Guts brought it up. Attention to detail was unbelievable. But as a coach, and I think Coach Breslin just referred to this, he let you coach your players. He'd come down to your position, if you're a linebacker coach, secondary coach, whatever. He wouldn't say a word. He watched you, and he watched you coach your kids. If he made a correction, it was upstairs behind closed doors. It was never in front of the kids. He never embarrassed any of his coaches, okay? And for me, I wasn't, and I learned this a lot from Coach Breslin, I was more of a teacher. I was not a screamer. Because I think when you're screaming at them, they're not listening to you. There's once in a while you have to get loud, and then they realize, whoa, this guy, he's not too happy right now. So something must be wrong. But yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Coach Hill, how about you?
I think what sets Drew apart from other head coaches that I've worked for, he was such a nice guy. There was nothing, negative I've ever heard anybody, say about the man. He was, truly a good human being. Like the other coaches were saying, he would put you in a position that you were comfortable with. One of my things that I brought to the table was, and he had referred to it as the Hillness, whatever that is, I don't know, but he would give me a theme, and he would just let me, run loose with the theme. I think in 07 we didn't have that physical component, and one of the things that I was charged with was to establish that physical culture with people. And I was saying things that I probably would be arrested, nowadays. But he would say to me, he goes, "I like the way you said that. Obviously, I can't." So there was like a little vicarious, relationship that we had. The coaches had made mention that all decisions were based on what was best for the program. And that just was, a fair way of looking at that. He let you he worked you. And your input was taken, and I don't know if he was yes honeying me or what, but it was like you felt like you were contributing. I've been on other staffs where it's like, shut up, this is the way we're doing it, and we've done it this way, and we've won this way. So it was refreshing to come over there to the Evil Green Empire. Yes, it was.
Nice. And Coach Herbs?
I think what everyone says is spot on, and not to repeat stuff. The one thing about Drew that kind of impressed me right from day one is how much the man loved to compete. I mean, whether it was 7-on-7 in the summertime, or end of practice, or freshman JV varsity games. I mean, the man just he just loved to compete, and I think he coached his top players as consistently as he coached like the lower tier players. And I always appreciate that, and I kind of learned from that. Coming from a smaller program where we didn't have quite the numbers, quite the bodies, Drew kind of taught me how to, get everybody involved and make sure everybody gets reps in practice and continue to improve with them. And just, and I think what he successfully did for so many years, as well as anybody in the state, was build that program and maintain that program. And it was, because of how much attention to detail, and how much work he put into it. And Coach just says, 7 a.m. on Sunday mornings. I remember Saturday mornings, you come in after the Friday night game, it was workout, it was film, it was break down the old film, break down a new film, and then go to a football game on Saturday afternoon with the staff. And it was just great memories and just the amount of enthusiasm Drew had, all the way throughout the season. Throughout the whole year. I mean, there was a purpose for every part of the year, and I appreciated that about him.
Nice, thank you. And Coach Spofford?
I mean, I think it's a common theme. Idea of attention to detail. His work ethic was infectious. Like, you didn't want to embarrass yourself in front of a coach. You knew how much work he put into the game plan and practice plan and all that, and you didn't want to embarrass yourself in front of him. You wanted to go through everything with the utmost respect to coach, to the program, whether it was, out and about town or, in a game or what have you. The other thing, it was probably touched upon was he always made you feel special. And made you feel part of the whole. Like you were an important cog in the whole process. As little as you thought you may be doing, he made you feel important. He was a tremendous supporter of everything at Ramapo. I coached baseball there for 16 years, and he was at more home games than not. He was in the front row. He was cheering us on as much as he could. He emceed the wrestling matches. He did the clock at basketball games. He conducted the band at a holiday concert. He took pride in his position as head football coach. I don't know what more you can say. And I left in 2018 to become the athletic director at Palisades Park High School. So I saw him less and less over the last couple of years. But whenever we saw each other, he'd make a beeline over to me, big smile on his face, big handshake, big hug. Tell him how proud. He'd tell me how proud he was of me. Call me his second favorite athletic director, second to Ronanello any day. But that was Coach Gibbs. He made you feel important, and that's something I'll never forget. And the life lessons that come from that, are things I'll take with me, and we're all going to take from Coach.
We always think of we're all, you guys are current coaches, some of us are former coaches, and you think of your impact on your players, but to see the impact on the coaching staff is, monumental as well.
A lot more than just coaching,
Yep. Before we go, I just wanted to afford anybody the opportunity who wanted to add any, final thoughts or memories that they wanted to share. Anything anybody wanted to say? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I don't want to make sure everybody got to say what they wanted to say. Thank you so much for joining us, coaches. We really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do this, and we really enjoyed hearing the impact Coach Gibbs had on you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
For the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. All right, we're gonna. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure. That's okay.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the video again while we get the next group of players in,
yeah.
and we'll do that.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. We are back live with now. We just had some of the guys who were lucky enough to coach with Coach Gibbs. Now we have a bunch of players who were lucky enough to be able to play under Coach Gibbs.
So I'm going to allow you guys each to introduce yourself. If you don't mind, tell the audience your name and when you played for Coach Gibbs. Josh, we'll start with you.
Hey everyone, Josh Walkowitz. I played for Coach Gibbs in 2001, 2002, and also coached with Coach in 2007, 2008.
Nice. How about you, Ricky?
Hey, how you guys doing today? Can you hear me?
Yes, we could.
Yup. I played under Coach Gibbs in the years of 2001 and 2002, and definitely the best experience I've had in my life. So.
Thank you. And
yes,
Ryan P.
Hey guys, Ryan Pizzari. I was fortunate to play for Coach 1 year, part of his first team in 2001.
And Ryan W.
How you doing? Yeah, I played for Coach for his first 2 seasons at Ramapo, 2001 and 2002, on 2 state championship teams, 1 win, 1 loss. It was a great experience.
So I'll just start off with this. Thank you guys so much. Again, Coach Sis is still with us too, and he'll be adding some stuff along the way. But, you know, I spoke, Coach Sis spoke, and a bunch of other coaches were speaking of how lucky we were to be able to coach with Coach Gibbs. But if you guys can just go around the room of how it was to be coached by Coach Gibbs. You know, it's different. Like, we were coaches with him, but you guys were the ones that he was actually coaching. Well, I guess that's not true. He was coaching everybody, but you as the players, just how was it, your experience to be able to play under Coach Drew Gibbs?
I'll just kind of go around how you guys appear on my screen. Josh, would you mind starting us off?
Yeah, sure. So, again, thank you for having me on. You know, playing for Coach Gibbs, it was very different from the year before he came to coach us, because we were going from one end of the spectrum to the other end with Coach Gibbs, and he was a real great teacher to the student athletes that were part of Ramapo. And the one thing that I learned throughout the process, and even more so coaching with Coach, and then even after coaching with him, was that he was really studying the players. The way he connected with us in 2001 when we played, to the way he was connecting with the student athletes in 2020, was way different. And that was the attention to detail. I heard a lot of the coaches saying it earlier, was he studied the way people were during that time frame and really learned how to connect with them. And that was one of the biggest things that I took away from how he really molded the players from when he started to this past year.
And Ricky, how about you?
Well, I played under Coach Mike Mielo for my first 2 years at Ramapo, and like Josh said, totally different type of coach. Coach Gibbs came in there, as coachable as a player's coach, like Coach Mielo, but Coach Gibbs just had a sense of just like knowledge of all his players, like real quick. He formed that professional rapport with his players, and as a kicker and as a punter, sometimes we're looked at as kind of like the last guys on the totem pole. But Coach Gibbs is always the first person to, if I miss the kick, to put his arm around me and say, "You got the next one." Taught me how to become a man, mentally tough, and that's how I honestly got recruited, because Coach Gibbs is such an awesome coach and a player's coach, and I just felt that camaraderie with him and the rest of the team, and I thank Coach Gibbs for everything he ever did for me and the players that I play with, and he just made everything such a positive experience, and I really enjoyed playing at Ramapo High School, and I don't regret anything. It was the best time of my life, and Coach Gibbs made it that way. Without him, I wouldn't be where I am today. So,
very nice. Ryan P.
Yeah, I'm a year older than these guys, so I was going into my senior year when Coach Mielo left. And when you grew up in Wyckoff and you were a football guy, that's what you kind of waited for, your senior year under Coach Mielo. And when that switch happened, it was seismic for us, because we didn't know what was going to happen next, and then we get some guy from Ridgewood who we all fear was going to run the wing T. Luckily for all of us, he didn't do that. But I remember how quickly he got bought in. We all bought into him. I remember how passionate he was about football, how hard he worked, how important it was to him. And, for someone who, going into your senior year, that's a year you remember forever. So, we always talked about it. He came to my wedding a couple years ago and reminisce. So, I just remember, and I think Josh touched on it a little bit, of how different he was from Coach Mielo. My group, and our team, we had a bunch of decent skill guys. So when Coach, he doesn't run the offense like he ran recently, but we went from throwing the ball 5-6 times, and we threw it like 13 or 14 times, and we thought we were in football heaven. So, we got really lucky, and he put, together an unbelievable staff too. I mean, Coach Sis, Coach Andalina, Coach Wingfield, Coach Brislin. Those guys put so much time and energy. I think as a player in high school, you don't realize it then, how much time they put in. But as you get older, you realize it, and sacrifice and time away from their own family. And, it's something you realize you're really lucky. And he was a great fit, obviously, for us. We had a great year, and I'm really not surprised of all the success he had around Poe. He was as talented, as good as a coach, and as good as a person to come around.
And how about you, Ryan W.?
One thing that always resonated with me was, the personal relationships Coach tried to make with all his players. A quick story. I remember his first ever meeting. I don't know if you guys remember this. And when he got the job at Ramapo, we all packed it into this classroom after school, and he's introduced as head coach. And the first group of kids he addresses, there was a group of seniors, guys that had already played their last snaps for Ramapo football. There's a group of seniors there, and they were just there to meet the new coach. They were graduating high school a few months later, and he addressed them, and he said, "Hey, if any of you guys are still undecided what you want to do for college next year, whether you want to play football or not, come see me after the meeting, and I'll help in any way I can." This is a guy who had 80, 90 new players to learn their names, their weaknesses, their strengths on the field, and the first thing he did as he's named head coach was try to help guys that would never play it down for him. And I think that perfectly reflects, what he was all about. Just those personal relationships, getting you prepared for life after high school and life after football.
Right. That's awesome.
I mean, perfectly said. I just, here are 4 of his first groups of play from his early years, and we have 2 people who've coached and have a part in football. You think that he's made that impression on you. Ryan P. was at your wedding, and Ryan W. His first time you met him made such an impression on you. Like, it's amazing to hear those things from the player. So thank you so much for sharing those stories. They were great.
Real quick, Dr. John Taylor, Irvington AD, saying great video, guys, amazing tribute. I'm sure Coach is looking down, smiling on this. Absolutely.
So.
I'm gonna ask him one more.
Of course.
Guys, give me a moment where whether it's something. I mean, obviously, we were all successful there, right? We won, but what's one thing that you're gonna remember about Coach Gibbs?
I'm going to reverse the order this time. Ryan W. first, please.
It could be football related, or something he taught you off the field. Anything.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, after we lost my senior year, our state championship, he would come up to me in the hall, and I guess I was moping around and stuff, and he just put his arm around me. He's like, hey, didn't say like get over it, but life goes on. Like, life's going to kick you in the nuts sometimes. Excuse my French, but he would see me in the hall moping around after we lost that week, but he's like, hey, life goes on. And I guess, it was great when we won, obviously my junior year in 2001, but I think when you lose and when you do get knocked down is when, you show your true colors as a coach and as a player too.
And how about you, Ryan P.?
One thing that Coach and I always talked about, so when he took over in the spring, and then, we were working out, and it was different back then. A lot of us were baseball players, so we didn't do a ton of kind of the summer workouts. And I remember we had our first 7-on-7 as a group at Cresskill. And it was the first time really that he saw us, and we kind of saw his offense. And I remember he was talking to some of us the day before. He was like, how are we going to do the plays, and how are we going to communicate them? We just said, we're going to put them on flashcards and see how we'll do. And I'll never forget, we played Teaneck the first game, and they were obviously pretty good, and the first play was a fly to Chris Anzano, who unfortunately got hurt halfway through our senior year. I think he was leading the state in scoring, and for a touchdown. And kind of Coach Gibbs turned his head, and we kind of winked at him like, hey, there's 3 or 4 guys on this team that can do that. So, and that was kind of a little bit of a thing to come for us. And I think to remember, I'll say a story about Josh, and it was the last drive going to Wayne Hills. I think we were down 10-7, I'm sorry. And Josh took over for Chris when Chris got hurt. And Coach Gibb came to me and said, you want the ball? And I said, I want the ball, but keep going to Josh. And I think Josh carried the ball. I don't know how many times that last drive. And I kept looking him in the eyes after every carry. I said, don't stop until you hit the end zone. And Coach Gibbs kind of joking to this day, even at my wedding, he's like, I'm glad I listened to you. And he kept saying, Josh. Little stuff like that you just remember. And, again, it was this is a senior year, memories like that, and the effort of him and Coach Sis and all the staff. So those were some couple cool memories.
Nice. How about you, Ricky?
Well, just like Ryan Williams had said, I know he said, excuse my language when he said nuts, but that was probably the biggest curse word Coach Gibbs ever said was nuts. He never cursed, if things weren't going right, he'd say nuts, and that was kind of his thing, and that's kind of what resonated with me when it came to kind of like those little things that, people do or say. And it just kind of like, it hit me in a good way, It's just, you expect the coaches to drop the F-bomb or this and that, again, like Coach Miello and Coach Gibbs, totally 2 different coaches, but always looking out for their players. And Coach Gibbs definitely taught me not only to become a consistent kicker, but also a great man, and a great student of the game. Academics were always the most important thing. And I wouldn't have gotten, scholarships if it wasn't for academics and Coach Gibbs' persistence on, getting colleges. And that's not just for me. It's for every student athlete that was on the football team. Even helped out, I think, guys not even on the football team. He was just that type of coach. And one other thing, I really remember is when I went to the Yale Club for a Heisman breakfast, and Coach Gibbs had come with me, and just like everything I've always, had dreamt about with someone to be really close by my side. Coach Gibbs was always there, and I really truly miss him, and I love that guy. And I wouldn't be where I am today without him. And I'm sure, every guy that ever played under Coach Gibbs or coached with him can say the same thing. Just a genuine human being. And just, I don't know. I'm so blessed, that I had him as a coach, and definitely will miss him dearly. So, yep, that's about it.
Thank you.
All right, we got a comment saying it's Chunk.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Best memories watching you guys play. And Coach Breslin saying Pizzari had a cramp in that game. Gibbs said 70% of you is better than what we have. He goes off and picks off Olsen near the end zone. So, and we got Josh.
And Josh.
Yeah, one of the things that Coach taught me, which I still take into my profession today, is honesty. He was always honest with his players, even the parents of the players. People always are going to him from every which angle, always looking for more playing time. He was always super honest with people, and sometimes it wasn't the answer you wanted to hear, but it was always, it was always genuine, and he never wanted to lead anyone on in a different way. And I still take that today with what I do for business. Also, his attention to detail. I think the coaches touched on it a lot before. His attention to detail. We would always reminisce and talk about the 2001 state championship or the 2002 season, and would pick his brain. Why do you call this play? And he would tell you exactly why he called a certain play in a situation, and his mindset behind it, why he did it. And I always was fascinated by that, because it was always spot on with the exact situation in the game, and it always made sense.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciated hearing your experience, your stories, and we just appreciate you taking the time to share them with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
For having us.
No problem.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
boys.
coaches. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, so when we get to the next group, we'll do the video one more time while the next group
we
comes
actually
in.
have the Kyle Tinsley.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, we'll do. Kyle, well, he wasn't able to
join us.
tonight, but he did send in a video. So at this
message.
time, I'm going to send in the video. All right, I will play the video.
Sent a little video message, and we'll get our next group in.
I couldn't make it tonight, but I was shocked and saddened when I heard about Coach Gibbs, and I just wanted to say a couple things that I wrote down. I feel very lucky to have played at Ramapo and to have had the honor of playing for such great coaches. I remember so many things about my years at Ramapo, but there's one thing in particular that I still carry with me every day, and that's the work ethic I learned at Ramapo and from Coach Gibbs. I'm old enough to remember his first day on the job, and from day one, Coach set the tone by working his ass off and expecting nothing less than 110% effort from all his coaches and his players. That set the tone early. Coach was humble in that he was always trying to be a better student of the game. He would walk by you in the hallway with his computer propped up in one hand and typing with the other, and he was so deep in his thoughts that one time it was just me and him in the hallway. And I said, "Hey, Coach," and he said, "Hey, guys." It was just me. I laughed, but I knew he was so deeply entrenched in that week's game plan, that's all that was on his mind at the moment. And because of that, we were always better coached and better prepared than other teams. And I always felt lucky in that I never had to worry about that. I knew when I was sleeping at night, Coach Gibbs was up, thinking about that one little tweak to that specific play, or one little game plan adjustment that could give us the edge. As a player, you dream of having a coach like that. I had the luxury of never having to worry about any of those things. I just had to do my job and felt confident that Coach would lead us to victory. And he did. I have the state championship rings to prove it. Coach was also a great man. He was a class act, and he led by example and taught us much more than football. He not only molded us into becoming better football players, he helped shape us all into the men we are today. My years playing for Coach Gibbs were some of the best years of my life, and I'll never forget that.
Welcome back. We are joined by another group of Coach Gibbs's players. Guys, I'm going to just go around the screen, and if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and just telling us when you played for Coach Gibbs. David, we'll start with you.
Hi, and thanks for hosting the event tonight. Love the show, guys, and
thank
I'm
you.
honored to be part of the discussion. I just want to share my condolences with Brian and the Gibbs family. I played for Coach Gibbs from 2001, his first season, to 2004.
Thank you. And Casey?
Hi, how are you? I'm Casey Collinari. Sorry. I came in at the freshman level with Coach Gibbs, and I also he was my wrestling coach as well. It was a terrible loss and big heartbreak on the family, the community, and I know all of us players feel it.
And Keith?
Hi, Keith Wetzel. I played for Coach Gibbs from the years 2013 and graduated in 2015. And yeah, this was a complete heartbreak in the whole Ramapo community. He was such a staple in all of our lives, and it's for sure a tragedy, and condolences to the Gibbs family.
Real quick, Coach Breslin's saying, so proud to stay connected with these guys. Coach Gibbs is the reason for that. What's up? He's saying, great to see everybody.
You know what? Before we go on, I neglected. We had some technical issues, and I meant to say at the beginning of the show, Coach Breslin and Coach Sis, thank you to both of you. You were
yes, absolutely setting it up.
A huge part in getting in touch with everyone and getting them here tonight. So thank you very much. We wouldn't have been able to pull this off without the help of the two of you. So I don't want to neglect to say that. So thank you for letting me interrupt.
That's because we love all these kids.
I know. You know what? And it's just so true. You know, the Ramapo football family. You know, from once you were part of it, it's just been shining through. Yep.
So guys, we asked the older group of kids. We're saying older. It's like a year older than you guys, well, a couple. But again, it's great to see all you guys. Thank you guys for coming on the show tonight to give a little tribute to Coach Gibbs. And you know, we as coaches, we always talk about how lucky we were to be able to be working with, you know, work under Coach Gibbs as a coach and learn. But if you guys could just talk a little bit about, you know, what it was like for you guys to be coached by Coach Gibbs.
And we'll just kind of go around. I'll just ask you guys each to share. We're also been joined by Anthony Mataloni. Hi, Anthony. How are you?
What's up, Ant?
Hey, how's it going? I got my Raider gear on. Sorry for the loss for Coach Gibbs.
Thank you
and
for joining us.
like Casey said and Dave said, you know, and it's great to hear from all the players tonight. I got some old memorabilia here too. I can share when we got time.
Absolutely. All right, David, we'll start with you again.
In terms of what it was like to play for him, I think so one of the reflections I have about Coach Gibbs and his legacy is really kind of who he was as a coach, as a leader, and his personality, things that kind of make a person unique, are what I remember about Coach, and which really, for me, kind of frankly, very unique amongst all the football coaches that I ever played for. I think I've heard this comment: I've never had to curse to motivate a player or a coach. The fact that "dang it," or "nuts" was kind of the worst word that he would utter, in a hyper intense competitive football environment like Ramapo in northern New Jersey, speaks to the type of leader he was. He often used the term poise. The word poise, it's almost like if you look at a picture of Coach Gibbs, you kind of, if you were to look that word up in the dictionary, you'd see his face. That's a resolute, poised face, and that created a unique element of confidence for us. The other thing that's interesting is the analytical rigor. Even when I played, which it's scary to say now, is 20 years ago for Coach Gibbs, we didn't have databases, and other digital ways to track stats. Every morning, if you walked into the locker room or afternoon after practice or after a game, there were paper stat logs all over the walls, and depth charts, and that helped us keep track of how we were performing as a team by game through the season, and I think fostered a unique level of competition amongst the peers and teammates, and also showed us how much he really cared about this and how seriously he took it. The type of preparation that his son Brian talks about earlier this evening, but he really taught us to look at the game in an analytical way, which I think in many ways was kind of he was sort of way ahead of his time. And then just, the type of competitor and kind individual he was is something that I'll certainly always remember him for.
Very nice. Casey, how about you? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Where to begin? Well, I mean, I guess I'll give you a little background. When I came into the program, I was too heavy to play eighth grade football, so I went under Miello, and Mike Miello had a big passion. 22 years of Ramapo, was the type of guy that was a presence. Drew Gibbs, I remember when we first met him, I said, "Wow, you got big shoes to fill," and I think he knew that. He knew that when he walked in the room, and when he walked in, he was prepared. And I think he taught us something that we didn't realize till we were older. You got to be prepared. He did it in many ways. Even at the end of practice or games, he would say, "We have 4 quarters, man. 4 quarters to play." He was talking about life. There's 4 quarters in life. You can't give up. And he always said we're like an army of one. And I remember that because when we transitioned, football was great. I got to experience Coach Gibbs as a wrestling coach, and completely different sport. No team atmosphere, really, unfortunately, but it's a one-on-one sport. And I remember when you go on the mat, Gibbs would always say, "Listen, it's your match. You do what you got to do. You prepared." He prepared us all the time in the weight room. If it was analytical, if it was stats, just like Dave said, the guy was just always on your side, and you felt ready. You never felt, "Oh man, I'm not going to be able to be set up for like I was set up for failure." Never. There was never a moment in time that I felt that I wasn't ready to perform, and I think that translates to today. I mean, I've lost, not that I lost touch. That life goes on. You grow up. I moved back to Wyckoff. My mom still taught at Ramapo, and I ran into Coach just this summer, and he came up to me, hug, kiss. "How you doing? How's the family? I heard you had 2 girls." It was like we never skipped a beat. The guy was always into everything, and he was going in for milk, I think. Poor Sharon must have been like, "What happened?" 40 minutes later, I mean, he came back with the milk. I mean, that's who Coach Gibbs was. He was the type of guy that would stop what he was doing and talk to you, see how you were, see how your family was, and that's how I kind of emulate. I think I try to do the same thing. So big impact, great man, terrible loss. Communities, definitely, it's going to take some time, and all my condolences to the Gibbs family.
Thank you. And Keith, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I can second that what Casey was saying. I mean, anytime I would see him coming home from college, when I would ever have some breaks, I mean, he was always asking how I was doing, how my friends were doing, how was college going. So he's definitely all interested as a person, always looking out for his players and anyone else that he was around. But playing for him as a coach, I mean, first off, one of the most intelligent minds of the game I've been around. Even playing at Division I level, I can see why he was so successful. I mean, just how he could teach the game to high school kids who haven't really been introduced to the intellectual part of the game. I mean, it's kind of phenomenal what he's done from that aspect. And then another point is he had so much passion for the game. I remember just my senior year, I was excited to go to practice every day because how much passion he poured into the game. It made football so much fun. And sometimes when you're winning so much and you're so focused on just the outcome, you forget that, it's still a game, and, it was still just a team sport that, you're there for the enjoyment of it. And he didn't flinch from that part. He didn't give any room. He was a pleasure to play for, and everyone I know that I've talked to has just the best time they had at Ramapo playing football under Coach Gibbs.
Nice. And how about you, Anthony?
So I started Ramapo back with Casey and Schultz and Charlie Granatell with the football with the Waterboy manager, and we got to see a lot of great history at Ramapo. Like all those players speaking tonight, Pizzari and Walkowitz. It's crazy seeing them, and we got to see a lot of crazy things, and especially with the transition to Coach Gibbs coming in. I remember when we met him at Eisenhower, he came down to the middle school, which is, wow, it's like, wow, the head coach is coming down here and talking to us. It was kind of nuts. And he spray painted 5 dots on the side of the lower gym to get us started. It was just like a hopscotch drill, but he was already getting the ball rolling when we were in middle school, which is kind of crazy. And, everyone really had a lot of good things to say. I can't really add too much about Coach Gibbs. It's just, he brought over there coaching staff that first year, which was, I give him so much credit now. It was the big names were, Coach Andalina, Briz, Valeni, and Sis. And, Sis had the energy and the excitement, and Coach V was a mastermind and, a scout. He scouted all the other teams. And, Coach Briss would get us fired up with his speeches, 11 crazy animals, running to the football and the pursuit drills. And it was just, it was great times. And Coach Gibbs was he really was a great leader. And, it's really sad that, what happened, but it's kind of amazing he died doing what he loves to do, coaching football. And it's pretty awesome, But one story that sticks out with Coach Gibbs is I talked to the media one time after manager, catching field goals for Ricky Crowman. He was just talking, and I got this article written over here. It says, "Oops, Ramapo ball boy drops historic PAT kick." and Coach Gibbs brought me into the team room before practice on Monday. Monday was walkthrough. Tuesday was bruise day. Everyone knew that. So it was before bruise day. He brought me in to give me a little bruise, and he goes, "Listen, Mataloni, just don't talk to the media anymore, would you? Please." And Casey, he got these off. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's the truth. That was my Coach Gibbs story. But you know what? Like Walkowitz said, he was he gave you the tough truth. He told me, he goes, "Mataloni, you've been ball boy all this year, manager. You're undersized. You're not an athlete. Let's face it. Do you want to be the manager over here?" I said, "No, coach. I want to help the team." And what really came together, he gave me the practice player of the week my senior year before Wayne Hills, which was a big accomplishment to get the guys get them going for the games. The scout team specialist. I got some old memorabilia over here. I got I think this was his second state championship.
Yep.
This was from 1996 over here. My first pair of shorts.
Nice.
Ramapo football.
Awesome.
And this was Coach Gibbs. This was his motto. He gave us these, the hunter be hunted.
Yep.
That was his big his saying. And some of the old players, they gave me old stuff from college too, like Chris Sims, playmaker.
Nice.
This was cool. And Greg Toll from Boston
Awesome.
College.
Yeah, got some good stuff there.
Yeah, and the football played in Texas. I forget which game, but this is when Chris Sims wore number 8. I think his first year in Texas.
Anthony, I got to tell you, Josh Walkowitz is just saying in a comment, he said those dots you were talking about were still on the side of the lower gym as of 2 years ago.
Did he know? I wonder if he knew what they were all about.
So
I wonder if he knew what they were. We were doing hopscotch over there, in a middle school, getting us ready for freshman year.
Very nice.
Josh was a beast. Josh was such a great athlete. His legs were the size of probably 2 of my legs together, And coming in for Anzano, that was sick. And when we were at the Highlands game for the state championship, we're reminiscing how Pizzari, he took a punt back for a touchdown. I think the first time he ever touched the ball was at Highlands for a touchdown, punt return. A lot of history.
Right after 9/11.
Was it, Case?
Yeah, it was right after. That was a big. I'll never forget that. That was one moment that you talk about Coach Gibbs, that having poise. I mean, we had 9/11. The school of Ramapo, their family members, fathers and mothers, all worked in Manhattan. A lot of the staff, a lot of the family of the kids, and that's at a time when we didn't have cell phones the way we have them now, and cell phones stopped working. And I never forget, the whole team came in. He had a meeting, and it was, we didn't know what was going to happen. And his composure was just to none. And we played the game that week, and it was, Pizzari came out and opening kickoff. I'll never forget that. He took it to the house. I mean, it literally set the tone. And I think that's what Gibbs represented, that he kept that composure all the time.
Hey, Case.
Never felt that. Yeah.
Before I forget, Case, you got to You got to tell Coach Sis about the Coach Gibbs no cursing policy. You
Well,
have to.
This is not to jump in, but I'll Coach Valenti was our freshman coach. So coming in, we had a unique other coach that we won't speak of, but
Coach Crow.
Coach Crow. Oh God. So I'll never forget. No cursing coming from Mike Miello. I'm Coach Miello. The guy cursed every word, every sentence was 3 curse words, and I guess I dropped an F-bomb. And Coach Gibbs found out about it, clearly didn't like that, and he sent me over to Coach Sis. Now, when you get sent over to Coach Sis, that was like the worst thing that could happen. And
After practice, right? After practice.
See me after
and
practice.
He goes, see me after practice. And I try to explain, and he looks back after me, culinary, see me after practice. I'm like, this guy knows my name? And I'll never forget. I must have been like the first guy that cursed on the team. I hope Coach Sis still has it. He goes to me, culinary, before you begin running, I just want to let you know you have to write a 5-page essay on why not to say the F word. And he goes, and then he begins by sprinting me up and down. I almost passed out. It's a memory that still lasts to this day, and I'll never forget. I get back to school the next day, and I go, how am I going to write 5 pages on how to say the F word?
Handwritten, Casey.
Handwritten, of course.
And Casey got these awesome things made for us. Forever a Raider.
Yeah, that was from the Gibbs family, yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, Coach Gibbs.
Guys, I want to ask you guys one more. We'll start with Dave. What's the one thing you think that, like, we asked you what it was like coaching, but what's the one thing that, like, kind of put, I mean, because, listen, I've said it, when we had him on the air a couple of years ago when we first started the show, he was the first coach we had, and I said it then, and like I said, not just saying it because I'm a Ramapo guy, he is the best coach in New Jersey. He is. And X and O, and obviously X and O, but even just like you said, preparation, everything, he's number one in my book. But what's the one thing would you say that stood out for Coach Gibbs?
I think the big shoes to fill comment is not something that should be lost as to how we think about his greatness. The circumstances under which Coach Gibbs was hired and the shoes he needed to fill, Casey's kind of half joking. I mean, how high that bar was set at Ramapo when he joined. Most coaches get hired when there's a change of leadership, or when taking over an underperforming team, or a program's in rebuilding. In his case, it was the opposite. Coach Gibbs was taking over a program for Mike Miello, who was an absolute giant of a coach in high school football. Really one of the original pioneers of kind of the pride and toughness, greatness at Ramapo. And you take talk about a mountain of expectations that Coach Gibbs had to take on or sort of rise up to the occasion for. Walking into the program, as Mike Miello departs for Rutgers at the time, he's taking on this mission, to continue the tradition of success. And, as I've kind of thought about it, as you go on your career in business or otherwise, but that's a challenge that, any new coach, most coaches would completely fold under that pressure. And he took that challenge on, and he did so without skipping a beat. As part of that first group of players who played 2001, he won a state championship, right out of the gates. It's if you take a step back, how many coaches would kind of have that type of a start to their tenure in a program? And so for me, the way that he created his own legacy through the years and have such a dominant, record, but even from that first year on the job is just so inspiring, and I think indicative of, how great he really was.
Nice. How about you, Casey?
Well, I mean, looking back at Coach Gibbs, and now I can honestly say I can call him Drew Gibbs, because when I met him, he goes, "Don't call me Coach anymore. Call me Drew." And he had so many different parts of his life. He had his coaching aspect. He had his friend aspect. You know, he had the leadership aspect. But whenever you met him, you felt that you could talk to him. You could just speak to Coach Gibbs. He was always there for you, and he would give his advice, and he'd always listen to anything you had to say. And you know, going into wrestling season, now you have to imagine Coach Gibbs took over the wrestling program when I was in my junior year, going into my senior year, and I was very fortunate to wrestle with some really great guys. And I just want to give a shout out to Jimmy Schultz, who lost his father as well, who was a great coach in the feeder program to Ramapo. Jeff Schultz, many of the guys, almost probably all of the guys from on the Wyckoff side knew Jeff Schultz. Fantastic coach as well. And I remember that Coach Gibbs and Jeff, once Jeff left the feeder program of the Wyckoff Raiders, that's when Coach Gibbs started up the program of bringing all the summer program of the students, of all the younger kids to Ramapo to train them. And I think that was way ahead of his game. He was miles ahead of bringing in the youth and having us guys that were in high school teach younger kids. And we didn't even realize what we were doing. He was teaching us all these amazing things that now help me with building my team, building people in my field, and building people in life. I mean, we were young boys. We were 15, 16, 17 years old, and we're teaching younger kids. I mean, he was teaching us. We wouldn't even know. We didn't even understand it at the time. And looking back and reflecting, it's a testament to who he was. He was all about training us for life. That's what he taught us all the time, teaching us for life. And I think he did that, and you can see the testament to everyone around him that he had such a huge impact on everybody.
Absolutely.
Nicely said. Keith, how about you?
Yeah, just to test to his grace. I mean, talk about how coaches can reach out to so many and influence so many younger people, especially in the high school level. Not even the amount of people, but the quality of people he's had come through his program, and that's a tip of the cap to him. Because I mean, the amount of people and the amount of quality of people coming out of Ramapo and into the work world, into society, being leaders in the community, definitely a testament to who he was because of how he handled himself and how he introduced the next generation into how to be a man and manhood, and then just something greatness for him just being a man. But also as a coach, I believe something great is just how consistent he was. You're talking about right off the get-go, winning state championships from early, but I mean, even to these past couple of years, he's had undefeated seasons where they had went 26-0. He's just hitting his peak. I mean, you don't even know what his peak could have been if he kept going. I mean, just great consistency. I don't think any class went through Ramapo without having won a state championship, putting a ring on at least one for each class. So
that's a great accomplishment.
I mean, yeah, you could just see over the years, there's just so many great accomplishments, but his consistency, because sometimes you get lulled into this feeling of success, but he every year just would reload with new players and would just show how great of a coach he was through his own knowledge and how you could just instill the values of himself into others and influence other people for the better.
So nice. Thank you. And Anthony?
So yeah, like everyone's saying, I can't really add too much more to, everyone really nailed everything, but he was a man of goals, and he tried to teach us about goals. The first thing when you walked in there, like one of the first, team meetings, he had a whiteboard. He had 4 goals on there. I think it was 4: beat Fairlawn, have a winning season, win the league championship and win the states, try to teach you how to set goals, and he teaches how to reach those goals. Also, like coming to see, me and Casey saw how Coach Miele ran the program, very hard-nosed football. Coach Gibbs had a lot of intensity, but going in there, he would have a meeting before even the double sessions. It was like a college atmosphere, with like a mini camp. Like you'd break up into linemen and, go over all the schemes. And he really knew how to separate everything, but really bring it together. Come Thursday and Friday, everything would come together. And Coach Gibbs used to come up to me and ask me about stupid Ramapo facts and things like that. But the one thing you never want to hear Coach Gibbs saying was "run it again." That's the one thing you didn't want to hear him say, especially when you're getting trapped by Tinsley, and that we saw over there. He was, and especially Dave Silverstein, Leo. My God, what a beast! He was such a good player Coach Sis, great coach for I forget if Dave was a Raider or an Ed, but Coach, did you name it Ed because of is that your first name or?
No,
I'm wondering why was it Raider and Ed for?
David wanted to play linebacker, but we had to convince him that he was a defensive end. And something tonight, all you guys, I mean, you were what, 16, 17,
15.
You're successful business.
15, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. You're successful businessman. Like, this is like, for me, the memories of Coach Valenti telling me you owe Casey a packet of Twinkies because you made him run when Anthony was supposed to be running. I said, well, it wasn't my fault. Whoever they sent to me ran. But Ryan Pizzari, I mean, you can go on. All you guys, Walkowitz used to cry, "Be my chance." And I used to tell him, "You're going to get your chance. He doesn't have anything personal. You got a kid that's all state in front of you. Do you understand that?" And then, unfortunately, what happened? Anzano got hurt. You got your chance, and the rest is history, And I think that's, again, tonight, that brings a lot to me that this is exactly what he was about. And one of the other coaches said it earlier, and I always remember that. He didn't just coach the all-state players. He coached that fourth-string kid. That kid was just as important as that anybody else on that team. That's, to me, in all the high school I ever coached, I never saw that. It was like, okay, put them over there with the younger kids, and we'll just play with all the old. No. He was not like that. Thank you.
That's exactly right, Coach. That you're 100% right. I remember that because I've never seen that ever in any program, ever.
Nope.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, hearing you remember Coach Gibbs and sharing those stories with us. It was really nice. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you guys. It was awesome seeing all you guys.
Absolutely.
And our prayers are with the Gibbs family.
Thank you.
100%.
Great job, fellas. Great job.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Good night. Thank you.
All right, so we'll still have Coach Sis for one more second. I want to do one more thing because I didn't want to short. Tinsley sent the video, and I want to make sure I get to show the whole video. So I do want to just go to that one more time.
Okay.
And make sure he's seeing that, okay?
The whole thing. Yep.
Okay, so Sis, just hang on 1 second.
I couldn't make it tonight, but I was shocked and saddened when I heard about Coach Gibbs, and I just wanted to say a couple things that I wrote down. I feel very lucky to have played at Ramapo and to have had the honor of playing for such great coaches. I remember so many things about my years at Ramapo, but there's one thing in particular that I still carry with me every day, and that's the work ethic I learned at Ramapo and from Coach Gibbs. I'm old enough to remember his first day on the job, and from day one, Coach set the tone by working his ass off and expecting nothing less than 110% effort from all his coaches and his players. That set the tone early. Coach was humble in that he was always trying to be a better student of the game. He would walk by you in the hallway with his computer propped up in one hand and typing with the other, and he was so deep in his thoughts that one time it was just me and him in the hallway. And I said, "Hey, Coach." And he said, "Hey, guys." It was just me. I laughed, but I knew he was so deeply entrenched in that week's game plan, that's all that was on his mind at the moment. And because of that, we were always better coached and better prepared than other teams. And I always felt lucky in that I never had to worry about that. I knew when I was sleeping at night, Coach Gibbs was up thinking about that one little tweak to that specific play or one little game plan adjustment that could give us the edge. As a player, you dream of having a coach like that. I had the luxury of never having to worry about any of those things. I just had to do my job and felt confident that Coach would lead us to victory. And he did. I have the state championship rings to prove it. Coach was also a great man. He was a class act, and he led by example and taught us much more than football. He not only molded us into becoming better football players, he helped shape us all into the men we are today. My years playing for Coach Gibbs were some of the best years of my life, and I'll never forget them or forget the impact he had on me as a young man. Thank you, Coach. Rest in peace. I know you went out doing what you love.
Okay, we are back live. We're going to finish it up. Again, I wanted to, I'm not sure if Tinsley's whole video, I might have cut it short. That was my fault. So I just wanted to make sure we got the whole video in for him. But, sis, like we were talking off air, it was awesome, just reminiscing with some of these guys. We haven't seen them in a while. And like we were always talking about, and we talk with Coach Breslin all the time, but just the impact that Coach Gibbs had, not only on the field. I mean, listen, the champion speaks for itself. We were just talking about it, and again, I'll say it 100 more times. You just meant he's the best coach in New Jersey. There's no one, and there's great coaches, right, sis?
Absolutely, yeah.
He's
no doubt.
He's on another level. And,
Absolutely.
But even more importantly, all the other stuff he did for the players, like off the field, and that just makes him, even go another level.
Well, you know what? There were so many common threads this evening as his colleagues and his players remembered him, right? The attention to detail, the making everybody feel important, yet they all had their own personal experiences that made them feel that way, so as much as there were these commonalities, it was just so interesting and nice to hear from so many people, and we've heard it in other remembrances, in news articles, how there has not been one person who's had a negative thing to say.
Yep.
And that will be Coach Gibbs' legacy.
Yep. And Coach, I'll just say one thing, because I know we always talk about it on air, but when we were asking all the other coaches about the one thing you'll remember, and the one thing I remember, sis, and we talk about it off air, but that led me become an offensive coordinator at St. Mary's was the fact of, I'm going to run these plays the next 6 weeks, because week 7, when we have Wayne Hills, I'm going to run this and it's going to be a touchdown. And I was just sitting there like, you got to be kidding. Like, no way. It's never happened. 6 weeks go, run the play. Here comes week 7, puts in the play action off of it. Bingo. And you're just like, unreal. Like, unfriggin' real. I don't believe what I just watched for 2 months. So
absolutely.
That's something I stole. So the one thing I remember was that.
Again, the thing with him was he never with a big ego, didn't think he was all of that. And the thing that, again, always impressed me, and you'll remember this, after every home game in the locker room or when we got back off the buses, he'd make every individual coach get up and say whatever they wanted to say. And one of the coaches, I forgot who was tonight, hit it right on the head. Maybe it was Coach Hill. He made you feel special. He made you feel like you were, again, part of that program. It wasn't all about him. It was about us. And that, again, all the high schools I ever coached at, never had that feeling. Never had
Kenny
that.
saying thank you, Jen, Kurt, Coach Sis, Coach Breslin, everyone else who contributed to an amazing tribute. Rest in peace, Coach Gibbs. I'll go first, final, then you'll go, and then we'll end it with Sis.
Okay.
Again, listen, unbelievable guy. I'm so glad I got to spend 3 years working under him. Got to be thankful because he's the one that hired me as an assistant. Again, 2 years as the head freshman. Then he brought me up for the 3rd year. I mean, I got to say 100% of football I learned was because of Coach Gibbs. That helped me personally later on in my coaching career. And, I have nobody else to thank but for Coach Gibbs. So, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it 20 years from now. Coach Drew Gibbs, the best football coach in New Jersey.
Just some final thoughts. I met Coach Gibbs, obviously, through Kurt when he joined our show as our first guest. And I feel like I really, everything that everybody has said about him has really shined through again tonight in all of our guests. So I am so thankful to everybody who came on to
Yes.
convey those things. I hope we gave him a worthy tribute, and that people even had some solace in being able to share their memories. And I hope the people watching enjoyed it. So thank you for allowing us to do that for a coaching icon.
And Coach Sis, you got the final word.
First of all, again, you two people should be blessed. Tremendous job tonight. My final thoughts on Coach Gibbs. Never forget it. First time I met him, sat down, he went on that board. I was like, whoa, this guy really knows what he's doing. I almost fell out of the chair, and I thought I knew football. But the most important, and it again came through God, I got to meet Coach Breslin. I got to meet Kenny. I got to meet my boy Kurt, and I got to meet Jennifer. So it's amazing, not only through football, but how we all in a circle became like a family. I would have never known Kurt or Coach Breslin or Jenner or Kenny or any of these people if I never went to Ramapo. You know?
Yeah.
Think about it. That's 17 years ago. We would have never, like, how the hell would we have met? We wouldn't have never met.
Right.
It was fate, man. It was fate to be there at that time. And, you know, we're all blessed, man. Life's short. Life is short. And I think at 59 years old, and I think Mataloni said it, and it's, you know, in a respectful way, Coach Gibb, he died what he loved doing. Died on a football field, basically.
Absolutely.
Kurt said it last week. I'm going to end with this. God needed a big-time coach up there. Took the best.
That's it. Again, Sis, thank you so much. Coach Breslin, thank you so much. We couldn't have done anything without you guys.
Thank you for having
getting
me.
in touch with everybody. Thank you. And again, rest in peace, Coach Gibbs. Best coach in New Jersey, and we will see you guys next Tuesday night.
Thank you for watching.
Okay, thanks for having us.